He was the man with the red, white, and blue guitar, the co-host who brought twang, wit, and charm to living rooms across America. For 17 years, Buck Owens stood at the center of corny skits and country gold on Hee Haw, turning a simple TV show into a Saturday night staple. But when he quietly stepped away in 1986, fans assumed he was heading into a well-earned retirement. What they didn't see was the regret, the loneliness, and the ghosts that had haunted him for years. The years after Hee Haw weren't a gentle ride into the sunset. They were marked by silence, reflection, and rediscovery. To the outside world, Buck's departure from Hee Haw looked like a natural end. But to him, it was a jailbreak. The fame, financial success, and cultural legacy the show had brought him came at a personal cost. He had spent nearly 2 decades grinning on cue, delivering punchlines, and standing in a fake cornfield. The bright lights began to dim inside. "I started to feel like I was part of a cartoon," he later said. He felt that his reputation as a serious musician had faded, buried under overalls and scripted slapstick. Behind the scenes, there were other reasons, too. Legal headaches, business pressures, and a longing for something real again. So, Buck quietly walked away, no farewell tour, no press release. Just silence. He retreated to the empire he had quietly built. Radio stations, publishing catalogs, and a web of real estate investments, especially in Bakersfield, California, where his influence was felt on every block. On paper, Buck was thriving, but in reality, he was more isolated than ever. The guitar stayed in its case. The laughter grew rarer. The stage, once a source of joy, had become a job, and now it was gone too. Buck Owens, the architect of the Bakersfield sound, was adrift. The silence was deafening. There was one name that echoed through that silence more than any other: Don Rich. Don wasn't just Buck's guitarist. He was his musical soulmate. His harmonies, his energy, his presence were inseparable from Buck's sound. When Don died in a motorcycle crash in 1974, it devastated Buck in ways the public never saw. He kept performing, kept smiling on Hee Haw, but something inside him never healed. Don was the spark, Buck later said. After he was gone, the fire dimmed. After leaving television with no distractions left, Buck's grief returned. He'd drive through Bakersfield late at night, revisiting the old places they had played together, quietly reliving moments he couldn't get back. He blamed himself for not being there the night Don died. He blamed himself for not saying more. The guilt clung to him, and in some ways he never moved past it. While he struggled emotionally, Buck's personal life fared no better. He had been married 3 times, each ending in divorce. He had children, but his presence in their lives had often been sporadic. His focus had always been on music and business. "Music was my first love, and sometimes my only one," he once admitted. His second wife, Bonnie Owens, had a bond with Buck that lasted even after their divorce, but even she couldn't reach the guarded heart he kept hidden from most. Friends noted how, in his later years, he pulled away further, not answering calls, keeping to himself, shutting the door on deeper connection. But something unexpected happened in 1988. Dwight Yoakam, a rising star with a love for the old-school country Buck had helped shape, reached out with an idea to re-record Streets of Bakersfield as a duet. Buck hesitated. He hadn't recorded in years. His confidence was shaky, but something about Dwight's sincerity cut through the fog. Buck said yes. The session was electric. The song shot to #1 and became Buck's first chart-topping hit in over 15 years. It wasn't just a return to the charts, it was a return to himself. For the first time in years, Buck felt respected, seen not as a clown from Hee Haw, but as the pioneer he had always been. Still, he didn't chase a full comeback. He knew the industry had changed. The spotlight didn't appeal the way it once had. But the experience with Dwight reminded him that he still had something to say. So he built something lasting. In the mid-1990s, Buck opened the Crystal Palace in Bakersfield. It was more than a venue, it was a living museum of his life and legacy. Inside were his guitars, gold records, photographs, memorabilia. Every piece of his journey, open to the public. He played there regularly, not for fame or fortune, but because it brought him joy. The palace became his home, his church, his answer to the Nashville halls that had once ignored him. There, surrounded by friends and fans, Buck Owens found peace in his final years. But his health began to fail. Diabetes, heart issues, and the toll of a life lived on the road began to wear him down. He kept playing anyway. "As long as I can stand, I'll play," he said. On March 24, 2006, he played one final show at the Crystal Palace. He didn't feel well that night but refused to cancel. After the show, he went home, went to bed, and passed away in his sleep. No fanfare, just silence. After his death, his family discovered boxes of recordings, letters, and journals. Private pieces of Buck no one had seen. Unreleased songs, confessional tapes. One tape was labeled simply, Midnight, 1991. On it, Buck strummed a new song alone, murmuring between takes, "I don't know if this'll ever get heard, but I had to get it out. There were regrets about Don, about Bonnie, about his children. I made people laugh for decades," he wrote in one note, "but I forgot how to laugh myself. These weren't meant for public consumption. They were the truths of a man trying to make sense of a life lived in two halves. One under the lights, one in the shadows. What the world saw was a legend. What he left behind told a different story. A man grappling with contradictions, haunted by losses, trying to protect the music that had once saved him. He had built a career that defied Nashville's rules. He had made millions laugh and sing. But beneath it all was a man still reaching for peace. His legacy wasn't just in the songs or the suits or the television reruns. It lived in the quiet admissions, the private tapes, the late-night confessions recorded only for himself. It lived in the Crystal Palace, in the duet with Dwight Yoakam, in the sound he created that still echoes through country music today. He was an outlaw, a mogul, a showman, a recluse. He was all of them, and in that contradiction lived the truth of Buck Owens, a legend whose loudest truths were spoken in whispers.